Welcome to class, everyone. Let's get right to it today. Settle in because we're undertaking a serious deep dive into the mechanics of absolute power. Now, we're not just going to rattle off dates and battles here. We're actually going to perform a historical analysis on the anatomy of ambition itself. We're examining a figure who didn't just passively participate in history, he grabbed it by the throat and completely altered its trajectory. We are talking, of course, about Julius Caesar.
So, I want you to ponder this question for a second. How exactly does a 2,000-year-old republic, this highly sophisticated, deeply influential system of governance, how does it fall to just one man? Think about the systemic vulnerabilities here. I mean, a republic is literally designed to prevent exactly this from happening. It's meant to be resilient, and yet it's shattered. Why? Was it really just the sheer force of one guy's will, or was the foundation already crumbling beneath their feet? Just keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this.
Okay, here's our syllabus for today's lecture. We're going to deconstruct this chronologically. We'll start with the fragile Roman Republic, move on to the making of a leader, then the conquest of Gaul, crossing the Rubicon, his time as dictator for life, and we'll wrap up with the infamous Ides of March.
All right, part one, the fragile Roman Republic, a system in crisis. Because listen, beneath Rome's gleaming, super prosperous surface, the state was actually rotting from the inside out. Rampant political strife, fierce competition, it was essentially a powder keg just waiting for a spark.
Which brings us to part two, the making of a leader, cultivating power. So, into this incredibly volatile, cutthroat environment steps Julius Caesar. Now, I don't want you to view him just as some historical figure who got lucky and was born at the right time. No, he was a highly calculated response to Rome's volatility. Born in 100 BC to a very reputable, though notably non-royal family, his intelligence, his absolute, unshakable confidence, and his ambition, they were obvious from the jump. He immersed himself in this intense training. We're talking rigorous education, political theory, military strategy, the whole shebang. By the time he hit early adulthood and entered politics, the state was practically fracturing from all these leadership rivalries. Caesar saw those cracks, and honestly, he knew exactly how to navigate them.
And you know, Caesar was so much more than just a soldier. He had this highly specific, very calculated arsenal of skills. I mean, his exceptional oratory skills, they absolutely captivated the Roman populace. You pair that brilliant public speaking with deep political acumen, advanced military strategy, and just this magnetic charisma, and what do you get? You get a man who was literally weaponizing his own personality to climb the ranks of power.
Moving on to part three, the conquest of Gaul, forging an army.
To gain real, tangible power, Caesar was deployed to Gaul, which is essentially modern-day France. And this wasn't just some standard military assignment. No, this was the crucible where he'd forge his ultimate weapon. For years, he led these totally unyielding, relentless military campaigns. But honestly, more important than the actual land he conquered was the bond he forged with his men. He built this highly disciplined army that was fiercely loyal. And here's the kicker. They weren't loyal to the Senate of Rome. They were loyal to Caesar personally. That personal connection, combined with his constant battlefield victories, made him the absolute most famous and popular general in all of Rome.
Now, as you might guess, this unchecked rise triggered some profound paranoia back home. Think about the strategic implications here. As Caesar's popularity is just surging among the common people and his military might is growing unchecked, the political establishment in Rome is terrified. The elite suddenly realized, wait a minute, this guy's personal power is actually starting to eclipse the authority of the Republic itself.
This sets the stage for part four, crossing the Rubicon, the point of no return.
So, it's 49 BC. There is a very strict Roman law that absolutely forbids any general from bringing a standing army into Italy. The Rubicon River was the hard border. So Caesar is facing a stark, massive strategic crossroads. Option A, obey the Senate, disband his army, walk back as a private citizen, and almost certainly lose all his power, his influence, and probably his life to his political rivals. Or option B, cross the river, commit high treason, and plunge the entire republic into a bloody civil war. There was absolutely no middle ground here.
He stands there at the riverbank. He's weighing the sheer weight of history. And then he makes the decision that tears Rome apart, famously uttering the phrase, "The die is cast."
Which leads us right into part five, dictator for life, rebuilding Rome.
Well, the die was cast and Caesar won. He achieved absolute supremacy over the Roman world. But you know, absolute rule isn't always just about oppression. It's often highly organized. He completely rebuilt Rome's administrative foundations.
I mean, sure, the Senate viewed him as a tyrant, but his administrative changes radically streamlined governance. He restructured taxes, which ended up stabilizing a really fluctuating economy. And perhaps most enduringly, he implemented the Julian calendar, the actual mathematical foundation of the very calendar we use today to schedule our lives, instituted by Julius Caesar's absolute decree. Pretty wild to think about.
But that brings us to part 6, the Ides of March, the price of absolute power.
Because despite all those reforms, resentment was just boiling over among the elite. His political opponents were terrified. They believed it was only a matter of time before he permanently turned Rome into a monarchy. Which brings us to the number 15, specifically the 15th of March, 44 BC, a date forever etched in infamy as the Ides of March.
All that Senate paranoia culminated in a massive, fatal conspiracy. And what's really striking for us as historians is who the conspirators actually were. This wasn't some foreign enemy sneaking in. During a legislative meeting right on the Senate floor, he was violently attacked. And the men holding the blades, they were senators. They were his allies. They were people he literally considered his trusted friends. He was killed at the very heart of the state he had conquered.
But here is the grand historical irony of that assassination. Killing the dictator did not save the Republic. Actually, it was the exact opposite. His death triggered the very outcome those assassins feared the most. The resulting power vacuum led to more war, which ended with Caesar's adopted heir, Augustus, taking full control and formally founding the Roman Empire. Julius Caesar's name became immortalized. It transformed from just a family name into a permanent, eternal title of absolute power used by rulers for centuries.
All right, let's synthesize the core academic takeaways from today's lecture. First, raw ambition just isn't enough. Ambition paired with intense knowledge and strategy is what actually drives monumental goals. Second, if you want revolutionary changes, you have to be prepared to take massive, treasonous risks, like crossing your own Rubicon. Third, unchecked popularity inevitably breeds fierce and often fatal opposition. And finally, absolute power carries the ultimate burden, and for sure, the ultimate consequences.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to debate in your seminars this week. Look at the history we just outlined. Look at the immense political strife that preceded him. Did Julius Caesar actually destroy the Roman Republic? Or did he merely deliver the final blow to a fragile system that was already fundamentally broken? Think on it. Class dismissed. I'll see you all next week.